So, those who got in on the early hours of Star Citizen patch 318 may already know that not only did the progress wipe mean that everybody was starting back at step 1, but also the turbulence caused by significant bugs and challenges in just playing the game made for less than ideal playing conditions. But since you've been asking to see more gameplay on the channel, this video tries to showcase some of that. I'm Forrester, and this is a mostly real-time talk through a cargo hauling run, from spawning the ship at Orison, picking up some goods, a slight unfortunate detour, and finally heading to Cell. It's mostly real-time, as in order to keep the video from being too long, I've sped up some parts which are clearly marked as sped up. Otherwise, what you see is pure gameplay. And given the state of the current patch, please don't be surprised if the narration also includes an explanation of some of the bugs encountered along the way. And if this is your first time on this YouTube channel, then welcome. Here you'll find plenty of Star Citizen videos, ranging from guides to reviews, so you might like to check out a few more or even subscribe to be notified when new videos go live. And for the channel regulars, please continue to let me know in the comments if this kind of playthrough video hits the mark for you. And we start this cargo journey from Orison, which happens to be where the ship has been stored. In this case, I'll be calling my Hercules M2 Starlifter, which makes Orison, I suppose, a little more appropriate, given that Crusader are the ones that build this ship. This is the ship I've chosen because, quite frankly, it's the only one that I have in my pledge pack that would actually do the sort of cargo that we're looking to do. And here we encounter our first bug, where quite often you have to wait a substantial amount of time to actually retrieve the vehicle from the ship spawn terminal. I find sometimes it's better just to wait for it to show which hangar it's in to make sure the ship is actually spawned in, so in this case we're going to hangar 10. Watching Paul Shelley of Astropub fame this week, Paul was talking about how some players have been having trouble with the elevators and how the top tip is just to leave it a couple of seconds after the doors are open, then step in very, very slowly. So I wasn't rushing. For those familiar with the Hercules, they'll know there are a few ways into the ship. You can enter via one of the two ramps, one at the front, one at the back, or via the elevator in the midships. I always prefer the elevator, it somehow feels safer. I can see other people around who may want to enter the ship, so I feel like I can see what's happening a little better by going through this way. Now, as we make our way to the top, Star Citizen regulars will be thinking, M2 Hercules trying to leave the atmosphere of Crusader, that's bold. Well, I suppose it would have been in patch 317, but with patch 318 they have reduced the altitude at which you're able to quantum travel out of Orison, so it's not quite as bad as it used to be. Sat in the pilot seat, start up the ship, and request permission to leave. At this point I'm going to get ready to set my route across to Hurston. I'm looking for somewhere where I'll be able to buy probably something like astatine. Looking at my balance, I wouldn't be able to fill it with the most expensive cargo, given that there's, about 520 SCU of storage on the M2 Herc, so something like an astatine, sort of a mid-range cargo would be good. I know that this would be a good place to go. Enable my Toby head tracking so I can just look up and make sure I'm clear of the doors. Jam. And then switch the engines to full power. And so at this point I'm just looking for Hurston in the sky, rather than setting an official route. There it is. And since I'm climbing, I might as well set an official route to Hurston, and then I can travel further to the true destination beyond that. Enjoying the look of the horizon clouds. There was an interesting post this week on Reddit from somebody saying, well, with patch 3.18 and the improvements to the rendering and the engine, does Horizon give better performance? And my experience has been not for me, despite even having a hardware update recently. It's still a little slower than would be ideal, but your mileage may vary. And at this point, just a case of making the slow climb to be able to exit the atmosphere. Now I have sped up some parts of the video. I've actually chosen not to speed this part up because I wanted to show that even with a large ship, it does take a little bit of time to get to altitude as it does in any other landing zone, but it's not as bad as it used to be, so I thought the real-time view of that might be a little bit more helpful. And then punch it Chewie will make the jump to light speed. I should point out I don't actually have a co-pilot for this journey, this is just me. There is no Chewie in this ship. And it is a nice looking ship. I really do like the Hercules series. A lot of you will be wondering, well, why did you choose the M2 and not the C2? Because the C2's got more cargo hauling, and they would be right. But I would point out, well, number one, I usually buy my ships with Alpha UEC, and the 3.18 wipe has meant that I don't have any. And the M2 kind of appealed to me a little bit more as it had an extra seat. I'm all about that multi-crew, so the M2 seemed like the better, more appropriate choice. So we'll prepare the route for when we land at Hurston, and then to save you from watching the constant travel, I think I'll speed up this footage a little bit so that we can get there as quickly as possible. It does certainly seem faster at 12 times speed, but also still seems like it takes a while to get places. Oh well. There we go, so we arrive at Hurston. I'll set the route. We'll head to Ita? I'll say Ita, and if somebody says it's wrong, I'll say it's because I'm British, and that's how we pronounce it. And then we'll make the jump across. So because it's quite a short hop, I don't think we'll need to speed this one up. We'll head to Hurston Dynamics Rider, where I think I should be able to buy some fairly, well, not cheap cargo, but reasonably priced cargo that would turn a bit of a profit, but allow me to make use of the size of the cargo bay in the M2. You might notice that through the gameplay for this one, I do skip between having the head tracking enabled and the head tracking disabled, and that's for a couple of reasons. I think the first is that the cockpit in the M2 isn't the most expansive, so even with head tracking enabled, there's not always that much you can see, although actually this sort of a vista makes it worthwhile sometimes. The other reason is because the Toby watches your eyes, as you can see here, and there is quite a nice view out to the side. Sometimes it's quite nice just to lock it in head forward, and then if you're, I don't know, picking up a cup of coffee or checking your phone or whatever, the character is still locked head forward and isn't moving all around the screen. But I do tend to use it quite a lot for takeoff and landing, just those times when you need the extra visibility. I find it's quite helpful. So I have slightly changed my keybinds with 318, and I've introduced a new hotkey for me, which is to recenter the throttle to the default speed limiter position, and I haven't had that bound at all before. I've just kind of manually scrolled up, scrolled down to get to the speed I want. Actually having that recenter functionality, I really like that. I mean, I suppose it doesn't really matter, you choose whatever speed you're comfortable with, but for me, it was a nice little quality of life change. So I can see the big landing pad out on the left, so that's where we're going to come in to land. Put the landing gear down. And be as smooth as I can. And we have got a VTOL mode on the Herc, so we'll flip that at the last moment. Gently does it. There we go. Please, anyone who owns a Hercules, tell me that's quite impressive that I didn't scrape the nose. No, just me? Just wanted to double check that that tail wasn't caught on a street lamp or something like that. Sometimes it happens. Back to the elevator, and we'll go and buy the cargo. Now, anyone who has tried to buy or sell things in the current patch will know that there are also bugs that have been impacting that. I'll give you my tips for dealing with that, but I've also sped up the footage here so that you can see without having to painfully watch the bugs. I find that often the timeout on the various windows, looking back on the Herc there, the timeout on the various windows is almost more than the time it takes to request the thing that you're doing. So if you're buying things or you're wanting to check your inventory, sometimes it's a case of put the request in, wait 30 seconds, then even step back from the console and come back and try again. So here we go, 12 times speed of me doing exactly that. Step back, try again, step back, try again, and then finally, after a long wait, I can see the cargo grid. So I'm looking for the cargo that I want. In this case, I think astatine is a good choice. I will literally spend all of my Alpha UEC in... I'd have 2 SCU of cargo space left in the Herc. So pretty much all of my cash, 406 Alpha UEC left. Everything else is in cargo on the Herc. Now ordinarily, that would be a very risky choice for me. I wouldn't choose to do that. Oh, and here's the next bug. I ran down the stairs too fast and now my character's dead. Yay. And bear in mind, this is what happens as well. As soon as you spend all of your money on filling up your cargo bay, it's like, oh yeah, you're dead now and you're not next to your ship. So there's an added challenge, an impetus to say if you want to get all of that money back, you need to get back to your ship as quickly as possible. And this stuff happens, right? This stuff has happened in all of the patches. It's just that I think a lot of people are less satisfied with 318, which is understandable. And for those wondering, I've sped this up because I thought you don't want to watch me walk all the way through Lorville. Those wondering why Lorville is my home destination, regular viewers of the channel will know it always used to be Microtech. I'm here because when I created the new player guide, this is the location that I chose to do that. And since it's often quite a challenge, or it has been quite a challenge this week to get into Star Citizen, actually to load in the game because of some of the challenges going on, I thought since I'm in the game to record this footage, I'm not gonna try and reset anything. So just hopped in the Gladius, headed back to Ryder. Seems very quick in times 12 speed. Put the landing gear down, we'll go and land. And you can see the M2 is still there, so at this point I think I was just saying, please, please, please have all of the cargo on there just okay. But these things happen. This is the nature of playing a... Well, I'd say it's the nature of playing an alpha game. I mean, I've played fully released titles where random things happen from time to time, so... I really like the Gladius as a choice for like a quick ship from getting A to B. It's just so easy to fly, even at high speeds. Wonderful. So I am going to enter through the ramp this time. That's so that I can inspect that the cargo is where I'm hoping the cargo will be as we go in. And you see that very cool ramp animation on the Hercules. And I can see there's plenty of cargo in there. I can actually even see the 2 spaces at the front for the 2 boxes that I couldn't afford. Look at it all. Beautiful. Make sure that the ramp is closing. There we go. Yeah, those are the 2 spaces there. So those are the 2 boxes that I couldn't afford. But it's mostly full. I think it's good enough. And since I'm already aboard, I can go up the ladder to get to the top deck. It just saves a little bit of time in waiting for the elevator, I think. And we'll head back to the front and we'll go to our destination. So running cargo in 3.18 is going to be riskier than previous patches. That's because, well, not only do you have to navigate your way through potential bugs, as has happened in this instance, but also there's a risk that when your ship explodes, the cargo remains so that other people can loot it. And the thought is that potentially, if you've got nefarious characters out there, mostly other players, they might be waiting to try and blow up some big cargo ships because, I mean, as you saw, there's 400,000 Alpha UEC of cargo aboard this M2 Herc. So even if you can steal a quarter of that, that's 100k credits for doing that. So I think cargo haulers will be very careful, and I only decided to risk this because, well, people have been having trouble getting in the game and there have been lots of bugs, so I was hoping that it wasn't fully fleshed out that there would be people camping trade routes quite yet. And by the way, on people struggling to get into the game, that applies to all of us. Speaking to a few people on different socials, I think there's an assumption that, hey, Forrester makes YouTube videos, so they've made special ways for him to be able to get in. Nope. Spent all weekend clicking to get in, have no involvement with CIG other than playing the game, so the destination for this is going to be ArcCorp. We're going to go to Area 18 to sell the goods. The reason for that is my primary money-making loop, because I can do it in my own time, is mining. And mining around the ArcCorp system is quite a good place to be. You've not got too far to get to the Lagrange station for refining. I'll speed up the quantum drive here. And ultimately, when I've got my refined goods, I tend to load them up on a cargo ship, so I thought having the M2 nearby would be helpful. So that's why we're heading to ArcCorp. And then once I've done that, I can put my cargo hauling behind me for a while until I see if things settle down with the 3.18 patch. So we'll jump down to Area 18. So I mentioned earlier as well, there have been some hardware changes. So just before patch 3.18, I finally made the upgrade of my somewhat aging Intel 9th gen CPU for this new AMD Ryzen X3D CPU. And it has made a bit of a difference, but honestly, I think I was expecting it to make more of a difference. It might be because I'm still really reaching the limit of what things can do at 4K to get you this nice beautiful footage that I try and get for you. So here is one thing that I think experience of playing Star Citizen I'm knowingly better at, which is at the different landing zones being able to spot the spaceport when it's dark. I don't know if anybody else knows what I mean, but particularly New Babbage, where you've just got the ice lake and when it's dark you've just got lights everywhere, and being able to spot those kind of 3 red lights of the spaceport. And then Horizon, when you're coming down from high above and you've got to try and spot which of the platforms are the actual spaceport. And then obviously here in Area 18, where you've just got, I don't know, Cyberpunk City or whatever it is, and then being able to spot out, oh well, that must be the spaceport over there. I always remember, like, as a newer player trying to figure out, well, where is the spaceport, especially when it's dark, was a challenge. And I feel like now I'm experienced enough with the game that I can kind of just look and go, oh, the spaceport's over there. That was quite a long rant, but I don't know if anybody else knows what I mean about finding spaceports in the dark. Let me know in the comments if you do. Show some solidarity if you're in the same position as me.
Please proceed to assigned landing bay.
And coming into land. These sort of landings planet-side with the Hercules, I quite like how it makes it feel like a big, heavy cargo hauler type ship. It feels like you're, flying something with some substance behind it. And I quite like that sensation. That said, it's not slow. So in previous other cargo haulers, sometimes it feels like it's really slow, it's really sluggish. I quite like the Hercules because it does feel heavy, but it doesn't feel slow. And then these landings, I'm always conscious of those 2 large tail wings right at the back of the Herc that are so easy to catch on something. Because they're at the top of the ship, you can be like halfway down through the landing pad, and then they'll catch, and then you'll be like, oh, okay. So I always try and be as far forward as I can do. And I know some of you will say, oh, just land in third person, you can see what's going on. Yeah, but my immersion, my poor immersion. I always like using the first person view. I don't know, it just feels right. But I don't hate on anybody that wants to use third person view either. I'm really looking forward to using the M2 when cargo routes are longer in the game, because I do feel like the amount of quantum fuel that the M2 stores is potentially going to be enough. This is a long time in the future, by the way, but it's potentially going to be enough to, go through multiple jump points without having to stop. So you could maybe cross, 2 or 3 different star systems in a single fuel tank. I find the idea of that quite neat. Of course, it could all change, it could all be rebalanced, yes. So at this point, just keep tapping the button and waiting for the elevator. There we go. Wait my 2 Paul Shelley seconds. So this is one of the more tense parts of doing the cargo run, is what happens to your ship while you're trying to sell the cargo. And what I mean by that is, I remember when the M2 was parked at Horizon, it exploded. For no reason, when I was like 2 or 3 kilometers away from it. So I'd been parked up for maybe 5 minutes and then just heard this explosion. And it said, your M2 Herc is destroyed. So I'm going to try and store the ship. Again, this is 318 launch week. Things have been buggy this week. So it's a couple of clicks to see if it tries to do it. But the reason I'm doing that is because I don't want to get to selling the cargo and then only to find that for some reason the ship has exploded. So I've clicked the button a couple of times. That's good enough for me. So we'll head to the metro. It's not called the metro in Area 18, is it? It's called, what is it? City Flight? I can't remember. City Flight, yes. That is such a Star Citizen thing, isn't it? When you're like running up and you see the train and it's just leaving as you get there. But since we've got to wait, I'll pick up this junk. Oh, there's a new one here. And I'll do my 318 janitorial duties and I'll put this in a bin somewhere. I know Area 18 is one of the older landing zones at this point, but I do still quite like the nighttime, especially when you can really take in all of those lights and shadows, and yeah, it's cool. I think, anyway. Just a shame that that death marker is hanging above us from that time when I fell down the stairs. That's kind of... just realised that my first death in patch 318 was from falling down like 3 steps of stairs.
Now arriving.
To think, oh, it was from, I don't know, a mining accident or some pirates came for you. Nope, just fell down the 3 steps of stairs. Right. Yeah, look, there's the rubbish bins. Right, you've all seen I've done my civic duty. Cleaning up the world. Right, onwards to sell this cargo. I do really like this TDD. It just feels like a really nice, fancy environment in here. They must be making too much profit off my selling things. So here, I just wanted to show some of the challenges, so had to wait for the inventory to appear then, select the M2 Hercules Starlifter, and then waiting for the cargo grid to load. I've chosen not to speed up this specific part because I actually wanted to show that, you know, sometimes you do need to do a little bit of extra clicking. I mean, to be fair, anybody that's got in the game for the launch of 318 has done a lot of clicking already to do that, but sometimes it's just a case of trying to be patient and pressing a lot of buttons. So, close that, take a step back, come back in, hope that in the back end something has happened, wait to select an option, and select the M2 Hercules again, and then do some more waiting. And obviously this feels even more tense because all of my Alpha UEC is locked up in this it's M2 Hercules. There we go, cargo grid is loaded. It's loaded wrong because it's only saying 406 of the 520 SEU we know are on there. But we'll cross that bridge later. So looking on the sell list, there's the astatine. Oh, yeah, I have to do it on this side. Forgot. Sell that. So even just selling that 406, that would be most of the funds that I initially placed in. So the last bit is profit. Again, I've sped this up now because you can see you just have to wait for so long for it to say, okay, I'll sell that for you. And inevitably taking a step back and then forward again can help too. Take a step back. Walk forward. Wait to load the cargo grid again. Select the M2 Hercules. Do some more waiting. There we go. Transaction complete, purchase successful. So I know that I've sold like 3/4 of the cargo on there. So I'm just going to repeat those steps once again to try and get it to recognize that last quarter of the cargo storage on there, which is a profit. Sped things up. There you go. There's the last quarter. Sell. That's the last extra 100k, which is essentially the 100k or so profit from the cargo run. Speed up the footage so you don't have to watch it. You kind of do the same thing again. Watch the circle go around, take a step back in to get the funds. There we go. Transaction complete. So just double check the Mobileglass that I've got the funds. I do. So there you go. It was about 100k of very painful profit on the early days of patch 3.18. Hopefully that's an authentic view of what some of the gameplay is looking like. I hope you enjoyed, and as ever, thank you for watching.